If you're a mid-level to C-suite leader who wants to own your growth and figure out your next small, brave move to achieve your leadership goals, you are in the right place. Welcome to the Small Brave Moves podcast, a weekly deep dive on how to be braver in leadership and in life for exceptional results. I'm your host, Nicolembianchi, best-selling author, certified master executive coach, NSA certified speaking professional, chief bravery officer, and tough talk expert. If you're ready to become a better, braver, and more authentic leader, let's dive in. Welcome back to the Small Brave Moves podcast. Today's episode is all about the real work, the kind that never makes the quarterly reports, the emotional and mental labor of conquering yourself so that you can lead powerfully. My guest is Melissa Hurrington, the CFO and Vice President of Operations at Premier Claims. She's also the CFO of the Leadership Council chapter, president, a LinkedIn top voice, keynote speaker, and a fierce advocate for women in leadership. Melissa is a founding member of the Bold Leaders Collective, an advisory board member for Women Leaders Connect, and someone who leads with equal parts strength, heart, and honesty. In our conversation, Melissa opens up about what it really took to move from performing to leading. From wearing the CFO costume to showing up unapologetically as herself. We talk about imposter syndrome, boundaries, burnout, and how courage doesn't come before action. It comes because of it. This episode is a powerful reminder that conquering yourself isn't about perfection. It's about awareness, intention, and authenticity. Please welcome Melissa to the Small Brave Moves podcast. I'm excited to welcome Melissa Hurrington to our show today. She's the CFO of Premier Claims. You've seen her on Forbes, you've seen her leading and scaling teams, or even mentoring in Omaha. But today, Melissa gets personal about what it took to lead herself through imposter syndrome and into unapologetic leadership. So welcome, Melissa. I'm excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited too.
So this is all about a shift from performing to leading, from proving to embodying, from managing others to really mastering yourself, which is what conquering yourself is all about. So I want you to think about what version of you that you had to let go of so that the current one could lead in your role.
Oh, I love that question. The version of me that I had to let go of was the one that had it all together. And the one that had all the answers, and the one that was this like perfect, polished version that I thought leadership demanded. Because the reality was I was none of those things.
Yeah.
And I was putting on my CFO Halloween costume and going trick-or-treating all day, every day. And every parent out there knows how exhausting November 1st is.
Yeah. Yes.
Exhausting. But it was Halloween every day. It was that almost like your customer service voice that everybody has.
Yeah.
But doing that and performing 50 hours a week, and it took all of my energy, all of my mental capacity, all of my creativity and strategy. I had zero capacity for that because I was just pretending like I had it together, that I wasn't the conductor of the Hot Mess Express, that I didn't forget my kids washing my kids' uniform. Or like I'm known for washing the uniform but not drying it. So we drive with it hanging out the window and get it dried really quick because I had all the intentions of doing it the best. But to become the leader that I am today is I had to stop pretending.
Yeah. So when you talk about the uniform hanging out the window, so many moments like that, I would say to the kids growing up, like, I just lost mom of the year in this moment. And I thought, I think I said that 360 days of the 365 days.
You know what? Why don't we just stop applying for the award? I'm not in the running this year.
You know, like I'm opting out for that. So think about, what did that version protect you from? And what did it cost you when you were in those moments?
Without sounding cliche, it cost me everything. It cost me my mental health, it cost me my physical health, it cost me my own ability to grow and develop because I was just pretending. I was just performing and, uh, you can't grow if you're not getting planted first, right? And so I wasn't planting, I wasn't digging my feet in, I wasn't rolling the sleeves up, all the things that on the surface I would tell you, like,
Mm,
"Yeah, roll the sleeves up. I'm here and I'm gonna do the
yeah.
work," but I wasn't doing any of the work. I was just putting on this show, and as soon as I dropped that, it's like being on an episode of Naked and Afraid. Why why did you drop me off in the forest with no bug spray?
Right.
Or clothes, like, what's the real game plan here? But it was so vulnerable for me, it was so scary, and it felt like people were gonna see right through me. My imposter syndrome was probably the deepest, darkest it had been during a time period where I was like, "I can't keep doing this."
Sure.
Uh, and then you grew,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
then you had other people say, "Oh my gosh, you're a human, that's nice." It's good to see this side of you. They're laughing at my uniform hanging outside of my car stories and saying, "I thought it was just me. I didn't think that that's what people like you
Yeah.
could do, that to get to this level in your career, to do these things that I've been unbelievably blessed to be able to do, that it was gonna require this different version of me." And it turns out what it required was the real version of me.
It's it's so interesting because when I did work on Small Brave Moves about the authentic
Mhm.
self versus the adaptive self,
Mm,
adaptive self is sometimes the person we think we're supposed to be, right? Or it can be the company, the culture that like,
yep,
oh no, you have to show up because I worked in an environment very much. My last role inside was very much like you show up and you do this, you wear this, you say this, you and it was exhausting. There was no vulnerability or
yeah,
bring your personal self or your whole life to work, which
yeah.
you shift over certainly the last 4 to 5 years, and it's much different. So I'm curious for you, is this an expectation you had set for yourself, like, "This is how I think I need to," or was it influenced by external environments as well?
Probably equally both.
Yeah.
If I'm most honest with myself, it was probably me assuming that the external environment wanted that
Yeah.
version of me. So maybe it's heavier weighted towards that this was something that I thought. To be honest, it was every leader I had
Yeah.
was this polished version.
Yeah.
I struggled the first time I got the CFO role, it was like a night and day difference of how people viewed me. And I
Mm,
wasn't promoted within the company. I moved from one company with a controller role to where I'm currently at in the CFO role. And it was like, "Oh, she's the CFO." And I was like, "Oh, I'm the CFO. Maybe maybe you gotta tone this down. Maybe you need to water down that piece of you and maybe they want something else." And so, yeah, externally, it was all I knew. It was all I had ever seen people in the C-suite
yeah.
act and behave, and so I felt like that's what this next level of my career demanded of me. So I, for years, showed up in that way, and, I mean, it came pretty dang close to breaking me entirely.
So I'm nodding my head because I it's so relatable and I deal with it as well. And in fact,
Yeah,
I went through a period this past summer when I was doing some speaker bureau showcases. And the first one was they were like, "We love your energy. We love these different pieces, but we're not sure we can sell these other pieces." And so I made all these adjustments, listening, going, okay, this is what they
yeah,
want me to be. This is how they want me to show up. And a month later, I'm in front of a different group of speaker bureaus. And I showed up as like, I'm going to be neuroscience Nicole that's going to
yeah,
talk about bravery and that's going to
yeah,
be right. And not the fun, warm, energetic, which is like, no, 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 we've got this.
yep,
And really challenging the audience. And it was so interesting. That group was like, wait, you're not even the person in the videos that we saw. Who are you? And I
yeah,
walked away from it going like, Nicole, you can't be everything to every person and you're trying to solve all of these. So why don't you just own who you are
Yeah.
unapologetically? I'm like, what happened? What happened to me there? Why am I trying to do that? And it came back to having a tough conversation with myself about like,
Yeah.
what does conquering myself look like in this role and how do I not lose myself in the process and really what makes me unique and special in the work I do?
Yeah, absolutely. And it just slowly erodes, right? Like
Yeah,
water. And you look at something like the Grand Canyon and how did it happen? And you
yeah,
realize it took, I can't even imagine how many years to make that happen, of it just slowly erodes. And it's not something that you can to an extent, you can flip the light switch on and off. And
yeah,
I mean, I'm not naive to know that sometimes I show up to a bank presentation as a different version of my whole authentic self. I can play the part when it's necessary, but yeah, that you just like water it down. If you've ever seen those videos, if it will show a wine glass or something, and you just slowly pour water into it. That takes a long time before that wine becomes clear and switches over to that water. Uh, and then all of a sudden, that's what you're left with is this watered down version of yourself. And in some ways, it can be a journey to finding back. Wait a minute, who even am I?
right,
What do I stand for? What have I adapted so much that, like you were saying earlier, the company's core values, what are my core values?
right. What's my leadership philosophy? What do I stand for? What's most important to me?
What is my legacy
Yeah,
going to be? And when I leave the room, when I leave the conversation, when I leave an active part in somebody's life and career journey, what stories do I want them telling about me? Yeah, and you have to find your way back to it.
here's what I appreciate about you. I we went deep so fast with like a really deep question, and you're just like, yeah, let's do this. So thank you for being minutes
Yeah.
seconds into the podcast, but that's who
Yeah.
you are. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And I appreciate about you. What does conquering yourself look like for you in your real everyday leadership now?
Mm. Truthfully, it's going slower, which is not something I'm always brilliant at, okay? But I have to slow myself down, and you have to step out of it and get that real, 20,000 foot look at it of what am I doing? How does this play into the bigger picture? Am I showing up in the way that I want to show up? Does this serve this future version of me? Because I'm evolving as well. And
Right.
so, am I showing up in the way that I want the future version of me to be seen,
Yeah.
known as? And so, it's really hitting pause on things, which is hard because I'm kind of 100 miles an hour,
Sure.
go, 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 on to the next, 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 next. And so, then in looking at that, so conquering myself is, where am I getting off track?
Yeah.
Where am I putting invisible roadblocks up
Yeah.
for myself
Mm,
and owning my piece of it?
mhm.
I'm like such a big believer in just like really owning your piece of it, whether it's 90% somebody else's fault and
Yeah.
10% mine. Like, let's take a look at what the 10% is and how did I contribute to getting here? How did I show up differently than maybe what I'm proud of, and just pausing and doing it. And then the biggest thing is when that imposter syndrome pops up, uh, to realize that courage and confidence and all of those things come as a result of taking the action
Mhm.
and not a prerequisite,
Yeah.
right? Like you don't need the confidence and courage to make a change. You need to do it first.
Yeah.
And so for me, the biggest way that I conquered myself is I reframed my imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Now I say I wear my imposter syndrome like a badge.
Oh,
I doubted myself and I did it anyway.
yeah. Yeah.
I questioned if I was capable and I still took action.
Mhm.
I show up to work every day convinced that today's the day I screw it all up, and I still showed up.
Yeah. Yes. I do not like the word fearless, because that's not
Yeah.
realistic and it's not in
Yes.
any sense. Fear
Yes.
will always be a part. When I've taken hundreds, thousands of stages, I still get that little bit of butterflies and anxiety, a little fear,
Right.
imposter syndrome creeping in. So I have a routine, a 10-minute routine that I do that I'm very intentional about that helps me center and ground myself and get myself ready to take that stage. So the fear list doesn't go away. And how do what you're describing is we make the brave moves, we make the small brave moves alongside the fear because we know it leads to growth, right? We know it
Yeah.
leads to growth. And I love the intentionality of what you're talking about around the boundaries and also giving yourself some grace that not every day is going to be perfect, right? And I call it
Yeah.
conquer reset. So what's my conquer myself reset that I need to do when I feel myself getting a little out of alignment?
Yep.
We consciously choose, right, the life that we want to lead. And so we have to be really intentional about that every
Mhm.
single day.
Mhm. I agree with you.
I think so. What old pattern for you when you talk, maybe this is part of the imposter syndrome, but think about an old pattern for you that still tries to run the show and how do you catch it before it wins?
My biggest habit that I continuously slip into is running myself into the ground.
Mm, yeah.
I'll just do one more thing. Yeah. And then I'll do one more thing, and then I'll respond to one more email, and then I'll just run that one more report, and then I'll set myself up for success. So I'll just work this weekend,
Yeah.
but none of the none of the next ones. And we'll go, go, go because that I gotta handle it.
It's real.
If I don't handle it, who's gonna handle it? Uh, and for me, it becomes this, I just have to get through this season. But
Yeah.
the problem is the next season starts, right? It's on to the next you're deep into the next season before you're like, okay, well, now I'll just get through this and then I'll slow down. It adds up over time. It turns out the human body is not meant to not sleep and just run on a fight or flight mode 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So it's been a journey for me to learn when it's time to walk away for the day, for the week, for the quarter, whatever that may look like, and to say no
Mhm.
more, to reserve my yes for things that actually excite me. And again, that are going to challenge me and stretch me and make me grow. That just because I can do it doesn't mean that I should
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, I mean, that's a pattern that I really had to both learn, and I'm still learning live here, uh, of where to set those boundaries for myself, but I've always been that way.
Yeah.
Like, I've always
So
been
talk
that way.
about how do you catch it before it wins? Like think about like what's the when you start seeing and heading down that path, is there one thing that you're starting to notice from an awareness standpoint that you're going, okay, I'm starting to slip back into that?
Outside of the time that I'm putting into things,
Yeah.
but I ignore that a
Yeah.
lot of times, right? Because again, it's like it's just this week, it's just month end, it's
Yeah.
just whatever it may be. The biggest thing for me is physical. So migraines. If migraines start popping up, I know I'm burning myself out a bit, but then I get short. I get real short, real fast with
So if
the
I'm
people.
talking when you're real short with me, then I know.
Mhm. Yeah. Um, and my husband does not put up with it at all.
Yeah.
So he's good at checking me, and I'm very grateful for that. He'll check me and be like, "I don't know what you got going on, but
Yeah.
you better slow down there." And then I have a few really trusted team members who I've been very fortunate. Most of my team, when they've worked with me, have stayed with me for a long time. Um, that our relationship is deeper than others, and they'll be like, "I don't think you'd be proud of how you just reacted to that question," or whatever else, and it's like, "Okay,
Well, it's a great
you're right."
example of the what's going on conversation, right?
Oh, yes.
Recognizing a shift for you and for them
Yep.
to be able to feel comfortable enough to say, hey, I'm noticing this. What's going on? Right. Or
Yes.
your best self in this moment.
Yes.
Which takes a
Yeah.
lot of bravery. And so I've nodded my head for like the last 30 seconds because, and I'm for those that are listening and not watching, I'm sure they're like just nodding their heads because what you're talking about is so relatable. It's so the whole work harder, just one more, yes versus no,
Yeah.
or not now. And so I grew up a farmer's daughter and you worked from sun up until well past sundown,
Yes.
and so I have this whole when I know I'm slipping it, when I'm in this like work harder, it'll come, and just put in more and just do. And then I recognize that, the joy isn't there. I'm not as
Yep.
excited about the work I'm doing.
Yep.
And so we just did the Brave Leadership Retreat last week that I came out of thinking about was I need to do a better job of planting and growing and not hunting. Cause when I know when I'm in
Mhm.
hunt mode, which is super masculine, that I lose part of really who I am. And so what you're saying is just resonating so deeply for me. So thank you. I appreciate that.
What? Thank you.
So I want you to think about what tools help you keep anchored? What tools help you stay anchored in the leader that you want to be?
Gosh, you could go a lot of directions with that. I'm a lifelong learner. Uh, I have to be and growing and stimulated in that way, like challenged what I thought I always knew.
Yeah.
So that's something, whether it's reading or listening to a podcast or a webinar or going to conferences, whatever that is, that's something that really helps me. And then uh, in life, leadership and love, all of it combined, without a doubt, my husband is my biggest anchor. And what a strategic tool he is
Yeah.
to my career, and then my overall life, without a doubt, that no one, like I said earlier, no one can check me the way Marcus Hurrington will check me. But also,
Shout out to Marcus. I love it.
shout out to Marcus for sure. I tell everyone I'm a CFO today because of my husband.
Right.
He believed in me before I did.
Wow.
He knew I was capable of more before I could even comprehend it. So he will push me outside of it. He will call me when I'm not being my best self and challenge me in that way. And I think I'm not self made
Mhm.
by any stretch of the imagination. And a combination of all the people in my life, but without a doubt, my husband has played a huge role in my career in keeping me grounded and keeping me challenged, and holding a mirror up, to
Yeah.
be honest, a lot of the times of like, just stop for a second and look yourself in the eyes right now. And is this really what you want to be doing? Is this where you want to be going? And I just think, I'm so grateful for him,
Yeah.
but I think it's such an important piece, uh, in my life, especially for sure.
Well, when we surround ourselves with people like
Oh
that, right, that
gosh.
are and my
Yeah.
husband Dave is the same way, and
Yeah.
the strategic coaching moves they make and the wisdom that pours out
Yeah.
sometimes even when it's difficult to hear it. But
Yeah.
even, he does such a great job of posing a powerful question that makes me really stop and think and
Yeah.
go, "Wow," 'cause we're around them so much, they just see it
Yeah.
all. He ends up becoming a strategic advisor for me, so I love that. Ah,
Oh gosh.
so
Absolutely.
good. Okay, so final question, even though
Okay.
I wanna talk for another 4 hours with you because we could just
Okay.
riff on this whole
Let's
cardio
go. What do you got? Clear the calendar.
clear the calendar, let's go. Uh, you can challenge one listener, right? One leader who's listening to this to make a single small brave move this week that would change how they lead. What would it be?
My challenge, for anyone listening, would be to pause for a second and evaluate what one piece of you that is not your true and authentic self.
Yeah.
So, what is the mask that you're wearing? What is the Halloween costume that you're putting on? And ask yourself, what is the actual worst thing that could happen if I took the mask off?
Mhm.
And just to try it for one day.
Yeah.
whether that is that you're actually silly and goofy, whether it's, you show up on Monday, what'd you do this weekend? And you're like, oh, just went to yoga, and that's not what you did at all. You had this grand big weekend, but you feel like it's not professional of you to say what that is. Eh, I'm a cursor. I curse a lot. It's not going to be accepted in every environment. So
Yeah.
like, be strategic about your choice as well. But like, what is that one thing? And identify just one and make it small and take off that mask
Mm,
and see how does it feel?
yeah.
I think you'd be surprised at the end of the day when nothing started on fire.
Yeah.
You didn't get crazy looks from everyone, and it wasn't as scary as it felt. And notice your energy.
Mm,
Notice how your energy shifts because you're not spending all that energy trying to hide a piece of you. And then I'd be willing to bet at least one person listening, if they do it, how somebody is going to notice and is going to relate with it
mm.
and say potentially even, thank you so much. I thought I was the only one.
Right. Right. Oh, I
Or
love
by showing up in that way, you gave me permission to show up that way myself.
I'll tell you, I've never shown up to a podcast recording playing music before, and I did it with you. I had
I
mama
love it.
in the background, but I was like, I'm really trying to infuse more like my childlike fun. I have a very playful side, and I always
Yeah.
bring it out. And I was like, when I was waiting for Melissa to jump on, I was like, I'm gonna just crank some Mamma Mia right now and start
That's
dancing
the best.
until Melissa jumps in. So
That's the
I'm
best.
I'm committing to you because you're inspiring me right now to bring more childlike fun into my work. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. Thank you
Thank
so much,
you.
Melissa, for joining the Small Brave Moves podcast and your pearls of wisdom. The conquer yourself. When we conquer ourselves, it unlocks
Mm,
joy and ease for us. And
yes.
it's just such a powerful move. And it's something I'm working a lot on as well. So thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a blast.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Small Brave Moves podcast. If you're wanting to take this work even deeper, I'm here to help. From engaging in inspirational keynote speeches to transformational coaching and workshops for leaders and teams, page turning books, online courses, and enlightening leadership development retreats. There are so many ways that we can work together to take your leadership to the next level. For more information, check out the show notes and let's do this together. One small brave move at a time. See you next week.